Yo, it's your boy, Baker Turtle here, aka Scott, back once again, with a video. This time I will be ranking all of the draft teams in the new draft league that I am currently in. We just finished the draft about a week ago. And the league is called Battle Revolution League, and BRL for short. And I will be going through each of the teams, and I have notes here. I will be going through each of the Pokemon and talking about its pros and cons, and mostly pros and like how the teams fare and how well the teams go together. And I'll be at the end of the video, so stay till the end, and I'll be giving an overall ranking of each of the teams, 1 through 14. I also have grades I will be giving at the end of each team analysis. So without any further ado, let's get started with the first team. Alright, so here we have the Arizona Alterias, coached by David Hextall. We have two Davids in this league, so I will refer to him as David H. So his team is very, very, very good. As I look at it, it has it covers a lot of things. I'll start with Rotom Wash. It's a great pivot Pokemon. It gets Volt Switch. It can switch into a lot of things with its typing, electric water. It's only weak to grass. So it also gets Levitate, so it's not weak to ground. It can come in on ground type moves. It can come in on steel type moves, fire type moves, water moves, just like all the offensive moves. Typings, it can switch in very easily and then Volt Switch out. Because it's water type, ground type Pokemon cannot really switch into this comfortably. So it's really bulky. It gets Will-O-Wisp, and it also, this new generation, it has access to Nasty Plot. So beware of the Nasty Plot. It's a setup sweeper threat now. It's because of its bulk. It has a lot of bulk. It can take hits and set up a Nasty Plot, maybe get behind the sub. It has fairly decent speed too, so it's gonna outspeed those base 80s, base 85s. If it's a max speed Rotom, and it can do lots of damage. It's typing water, electric, covers most things besides grass and dragon types, but it also gets Dark Pulse, so that's a neutral. You can put in some work. So the next Pokemon we have here is Poltegeist. This is also a very dangerous Pokemon in that it gets Shell Smash. It also has the weak armor ability, raising its speed when attacked. So it can have a Focus Sash and then get hit, raise its speed, and sweep. Shell Smash is the more dangerous threat, of course. Double the speed, double the attack and special attack. But it has great coverage as well. Access to like Giga Drain, Shadow Ball, I think Psychic moves. It gets Nasty Plot too, so it doesn't have to do Shell Smash. It also gets Cursed Body, so if it doesn't want to use the weak armor ability, it can Cursed Body, and we can't really attack it. Be careful, Poltegeist, for the late game sweeps. The next Pokemon we have here is Arcanine. It's one of the few good fire types in this generation. There's not a lot of access to good fire types, and Arcanine is really good. It's really bulky, pretty fast, kind of strong, and it can be defensive. It has recovery. With the new item, Heavy Duty Boots, it can come in not worrying about Stealth Rocks. So it's a more reliable defensive mon now. It has decent coverage with Wild Charge and close combat, things like that. And it also gets priority. So it's a very good fire type Pokemon, and can be pretty good defensively. And it pairs well with Rotom Wash. So the next we have Mandibuzz. This is one of the best Pokemon in the Draft League right now because it's one of the few that actually gets access to Defog and Roost. With Roost not being as readily available to a bunch of Pokemon, It's not a TM, so you can't teach it to Pokemon now. So, and Defog is not a teachable move either. So, this mon is like underestimatingly or surprisingly bulky. It's good special defensively and defensively. It has a bunch of HP. It gets momentum in U-turn. Um, it gets access to Taunt, Tailwind, Whirlwind, so it's a really good pivot, just like Rotom Wash. Um, and yeah, so expect this to be his main defogger and getting rid of hazards. Very passive though, so don't have to worry about it damaging you much, besides a knockoff or foul play. But yeah, so next we have Rillaboom. I really like this pick. As I was researching this more, I realized Rillaboom is actually a very dangerous Pokemon. Um, it completes the Fire, Water, Grass core that David is doing here, and it's unusually fast with base 85 speed. With max speed, it could actually put in work and set up. It gets Swords Dance, I believe. So it's one of those sleeper mons. I think for each team, I'm gonna have like a special threat, or like I'm putting a star next to these Pokemon, as I think they're gonna be you know the the factor or whatever. What's that? You know what they call like the specialists on the teams? Anyways, yeah, I think Rillaboom's gonna be putting in quite the work. It has great coverage. It has access to fighting type moves. I think Sucker Punch. It's really strong. It's really bulky as well, and I think it'll be pretty good. It's a good grass type. And next we have Ribombee. It's a good fairy type this generation. It gets access to Quiver Dance, so it's another setup dangerous sweeper. It's pretty fast, so it can come in and it can U-turn out as well. It's pretty strong, and it gets sticky web support, so that's gonna be key. Knowing that it gets sticky webs, it can make things like Rillaboom and Poltegeist and Rotom Wash huge threats when they set up, as well as Gallade at the bottom. Um, so sticky web will be huge. It helps with that, and then with Bug and Fairy, it covers a lot of typings that otherwise he can't hit super effectively. Next we have Rhyperior. This is gonna be his stealth rocker. If he's gonna want stealth rocks on the field, this is the one to bring, because nothing else has stealth rock. It's a great defensive Pokemon. It's a ground type as well. It can set up a little bit. It has really good coverage, surprisingly, and it's strong. But yeah, it's mostly gonna be coming in on you know um, like other rock types or bug types or electric types, and wallowing them. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's a pretty good bulky Pokemon. But yeah. Next we have Gallade. Now, this is actually a really good Pokemon as well. It has amazing coverage. One theme of this team as well is coverage. It has a lot of the Pokemon can hit a lot of different Pokemon super effectively. This one is a fighting type as well as psychic type, so that's a good typing to have offensively. It hits a lot of things like except psychic types, so it's gonna have trouble with psychic types, but it does get Sucker Punch, and it gets priority. Like I think it gets, does it get Bullet Punch? No, Shadow Sneak. I think it gets Shadow Sneak. No, I don't think it gets Sucker Punch. Just Shadow Sneak. Maybe Sucker Punch. It gets Bulk Up. It gets Swords Dance, and it's good with the sticky web support from Ribombee. So yeah. So overall, I graded this team an A. A solid A. Some cons: it has limited hazards. Just Rhyperior is his only rocker, and then sticky webs with Ribombee, and Mandiba is defog. So don't expect hazards to be an issue, except for the sticky webs. But yeah, and it's also a kind of slow team. Just Ribombee is like the fast one. Other than that, I think maybe the next fastest is like Arcanine or Rotom Wash. But yeah. Anyways, we go to the next team. It's Nier, the Chim Charsenal PC team, and this one is a pretty good team. It's not bad, not bad. Um, has a great defensive core in Corviknight and Gastrodon, both with reliable recovery, like recover for Gastrodon and Roost for Corviknight, and it covers the typings perfectly. For Grass for Gastrodon, Corviknight covers. For Electric and Fire types, Gastrodon covers really well. So it's a great wall core he has right here. Corviknight can be pretty threatening with bulk up as well. It can go special defensively and go the bulk up route. It also gets defog, so it's really really good Pokemon in this draft. Um, Definitely one of the first round picks. Steel Flying type is very good defensive typing. Yeah, so next we have Gengar. Well, let me talk about Gastrodon. Actually, I skipped Gastrodon. So Gastrodon is a pretty high second round pick, but I guess he really wanted that core. It's a Gastrodon being good in that it um, is a ground type as well as a water type. So um, water is neutral. Actually, it's immune to water with the Storm Drain ability. So it can come in on water types and electric types really free. And yeah, so the immunity is very key here, and also the reliable recovery. Seismitoad is similar in that way, but the difference between Seismitoad and Gastrodon is that Gastrodon does not get access to Stealth Rocks. So that's one of its downfalls. It's just a really passive, bulky Pokemon. It can set up with Stockpile, but other than that, it's not really that strong. So, yeah. So, anyways, now let's talk about Gengar. So, Gengar, this one's a huge threat. It gets access to Nasty Plot now. It can with Focus Sash or Sub. It can be very dangerous if you don't have an answer to Gengar. The offensive Ghost typing is pretty good. Um, Paired with the poison, and it's really strong. Has great coverage. Access to like Thunderbolt, Giga Drain, Shadow Ball, Focus Blast. Things like that. So it's a spin blocker as well. So you can do that, and like I said, the setup with Nasty Plot is very dangerous. It gets access to Willow, so keep that in mind. But yeah, this is going to be a very dangerous sweeper, dangerous wall breaker, and yeah. So next we have Rotom Mo, the grass electric type. This is a good Pokemon to have here. Good synergy with Gastrodon, and it can gets momentum. It's kind of good defensively, but it's not as good as Rotom Wash or Rotom Heat. It's a good pivot though, but it has access to Willow, and it helps out the defensive core. Yeah, good grass type to have, I guess. And next we have Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr also gets access to defog this generation. Most don't know that, but yeah, it does. I highly doubt he'll be uh, running defog on Conkeldurr because it's just kind of like a wasted slot. But yeah, it's really bulky. Has great abilities in Iron Fist, Guts, and what's the other one? Mold Breaker, I think. I don't know. Maybe not Mold Breaker, but yeah. So uh, it's a slow fighting type, but because it's bulky and really strong, it can tank hits really well. It can hold the assault vest and take a lot of attacks that way. It gets priority in Mach Punch and Bullet Punch. Yeah, it's really strong and has great coverage. Has like Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch. I think it gets access to close combat now, or maybe it always did. Drain Punch, like knockoff. Yeah, so next we have Aromatisse. It's a good fairy type, I guess. Maybe, well, it's not. I wouldn't say I wouldn't really draft Aromatisse. It's not that good. Doesn't really. It's not really a threat. It's more of a cleric type with Wish. It doesn't have super reliable recovery. It doesn't have good coverage, honestly. Just the fairy typing, and then I think maybe Shadow Ball, or does it get Mystical Fire? I don't know. I'm not even sure, but yeah, it doesn't have good coverage options. It's really slow too. It's really passive. but it's decently bulky. It can wish, pass. It can. I think it's It gets aromatherapy still, so it's a cleric. It's always good to have a fairy type. And so next we have the Goon, Obster Goon. So this one is the one I starred. The playmaker, the specialist, the one that I think will be putting in a lot of work this season. It's a good dark type, um, surprisingly bulky. It's really good defensively as well as even special defensively. The typing helps it switch into ghost moves and other dark type moves, and it helps with Gengar as well. So it's really bulky and it's kind of strong too. It's pretty strong. And with its ability Guts, it can hold the Flame Orb, and with attacks like Facade, that the stab boosted Facade as well as the Guts, it can do a lot of work with as well as knockoff and close combat. Has good coverage, so I really expect this one to be put in the work. The Obstruct ability as well, so if you attack it while it uses Obstruct, your defense goes down. So it's either going to kill you or put in a lot of damage, or you got to switch. So yeah, pretty dangerous Pokemon here. And this next we have Piloswine. I really like Piloswine. I've drafted it many times in the past. It's a mini Mamoswine, and Mamoswine, as we all know, has like wall breaking coverage. You know, with the offensive typings of Ice and Ground, it covers pretty much every typing there is, besides maybe Water. Water typings are pretty much the only things that can come in on a Piloswine or a mini Mamoswine or whatever. One thing about this team though is that it does have the double ground weakness. Double ground typing with Gastrodon, so it adds a grass weakness as well as it makes it weak to water. But Gastrodon can switch into water types. It's really bulky Piloswine because it can hold the Eviolite, and it's as well as a Stealth Rocker as well. So I think this is his only rocker, stealth rocker. And so if you don't see Piloswine, don't expect to have hazards against you. Um, an ice type is pretty good offensively. Can hit a lot of the defensive typings like ground types, grass types, and a lot of defensive Pokemon. It hits dragon types, and with Ice Shard, it gets priority too. And so that's a pretty good Pokemon right there. But it's slow. So this team overall is really slow, except Gengar. So everything else is really slow. It has limited hazard control. Just Piloswine as his rocker, and Corviknight defog, but Conk, I guess it's defog too, but I don't really expect that. And it doesn't really have much momentum. Besides Rotom Mow, everything else is gonna have to be switched in or predicted on. Aromatisse can switch in on things, but it's really passive. I guess it can wish pass, but I don't know. And I gave this one a B plus. I really like this team. It's a solid team, B plus. And one of the biggest things for me is that it's really passive defensively, and it has little speed, and it's pretty predictable. So next we have Carlitos Demoy Decidueyes. So this team is pretty good too. Pretty decent, probably like mid pack of the league. We'll start with Tyranitar here. This is one of the best Pokemon in draft leagues you can get with Rock and Dark. It's a really good Dark type Pokemon, and this generation, it does not get access to Pursuit, so that kind of hinders it a little bit. But it can set up with Dragon Dance, so be careful with that. It has great coverage, physically and special defensively. It gets access to Stealth Rock, so it's a good Stealth Rocker as well. And yeah, it's really bulky too, so it sets up the stand. And so next we have Togekiss here. So this generation, it does not get defog. So no defog being key here. It gets Morning Sun. It doesn't get Roost, I believe. Just Morning Sun. So that's actually going to hinder it. With Tyranitar here, that's one of the knockdowns I have for this team, is that because of Tyranitar's sand, Togekiss is not going to get a lot of HP coming back from Morning Sun, so expect this one to be more offensive with Nasty Plot and maybe Scarfed. So I don't really consider this pick that good as previous generations because it does not get Defog and it does not get Roost. Next we have Quagsire here. So this one's a water immune Pokemon. I like the ground water types that are water immune. This one gets water absorb. But this one is probably the subpar one compared to Gastrodon and Seismitoad. It doesn't get Stealth Rocks, and it can get hit special defensively pretty easily. It does get Recover though, so that's good. But other than that, it's just gonna Scald and Earthquake and Toxic Recover. It's really passive, but it's pretty bulky. Gets access to Unaware, so he can't really set up in its face. But it's really passive. You just need a Grass type move or like an Ice Beam or something. Ice type Pokemon. Anyways, next we have Centris Scorch. So this is another fire type Pokemon. This one's actually underrated. I think it's surprisingly bulky with base 100 HP and 90 special defense. So it can be special defensive, and with its typing, it pretty much walls fairies. So it can come in on fairies very easily and hit them with that Fire Lash and potentially lower their defense. It gets knockoff too, so decent coverage. It covers its grass weakness too from Tyranitar and Quagsire, so it's a good core with Quagsire and Tyranitar. But the thing about this is that it's kind of slow, so don't expect it to be like a sweeper. It does get coil, but without that speed, it's not going to really put in that much of work. Next, we have Bronzong. Bronzong, this one's a good Pokemon here. It's ground immune and has good synergy with Togekiss. It has access to Stealth Rock, so this is going to be his Stealth Rocker. Expect this one, I think, most of the time, most weeks. It's a good Steel type. It's a good Psychic type Pokemon, so it can come in on Psychic moves. It can come in on like ground types or rock types or poison. It's immune to poison for Togekiss, so it can just come in that way. So it's pretty good. It gets EQ, Gyro Ball. I think it gets Trick Room too. So yeah. So next we have Boltund. I really like Boltund. I almost drafted Boltund. I really like the coverage it gets with Strong Jaw. It gets access to Crunch, Thunder Fang, Fire Fang, Ice Fang too, I think. It's really fast, so it's a good fast electric type. Good coverage, but it's a little on the weak side with less than base 100 in both attack and special attack. So, unless it's Strong Jaw, it's not going to really put in much work. But yeah, I really like this Pokemon because it's fast and good coverage, and it's electric type. So next we have Eldegoss. So this one is a rapid spinner. This one's going to be his spinner. Is without defog on Togekiss. The only way to get rid of hazards is this guy. So expect this one to be a rapid spinner. It completes the Fire, Water, Grass core, and it's pretty bulky, especially on the special defensive side. It's a good grass type Pokemon, but it doesn't get good coverage at all. So it's mostly going to have grass type moves, rapid spin, and maybe I think it gets U-turn. But yeah, other than that, it's just that's what it does. Next we have Ice Cube. So this one is a scary setup sweeper. But because of the banning of Dynamax, it's not going to put in as much work as it could. So with its ability, Ice Face, it can take a physical attack without any damage, and it can set up with Belly Drum. So Belly Drum is what makes this very dangerous. If it would have to get maybe set up a substitute and then Belly Drum to get the Salic Berry off, but because it's not that fast, unless it gets that +1 speed, so it can be revenged, and it can get hit on the special side too, special attack. So yeah, so I mean it's dangerous, but not too dangerous. And there's no access to hail on this team, and with sand, it's gonna hurt it, and yeah. So I mean it's pretty good. I mean, but it can be better. So I gave this one also a B plus. The cons is that there's no priority on the team, and it's kind of slow too. So just Bolton is the fast Pokemon here, and everything else is pretty slow. So and no priority too. So yeah. Next we have Mason. So Mason, I really like this team. It's really good. Fun fact though, that this team has no new Galar Pokemon. It's just all past generation Pokemon, but it's a really good team he got here. So first off, we have Hydreigon. So you thought Hydreigon was a beast last generation. Fuck, this generation, it's definitely gonna be a threat. With the addition of Nasty Plot and Dragon Dance, it can set up physically or special attack. It's a great Pokemon, and has good coverage. It's a dark type. It's ground immune too, so it can come in on ground types. It's psychic immune as well. Dragon type is always good, especially against the special attackers like fire, grass, electric, water, and has good coverage with Dark Pulse, U-turn, T-bolt, flamethrower, uh, Dragon Pulse, Draco, all that stuff. So be careful now because it gets nasty plot. It can be. Alright, next off we have Gyarados. So this one is not that great because Dynamax is not available, but it's still a good Pokemon. If we had Dynamax, then this would be a really scary one with the Max Airstream raising its speed. It gets access to Dragon Dance, so Intimidate plus Dragon Dance, and also with Moxie, it's a dangerous setup sweeper. It's always been a dangerous setup sweeper, and with the addition of Power Whip now, so it can hit water types. It can hit. I mean, it's always been able to hit rock and ground types, but now it can hit like Seismitoad or water immune Pokemon like Seismitoad and Gastrodon and Quagsire and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, it's really dangerous that way. So this is a good Pokemon. Next we have Chandelure. It's a good synergy with Hydreigon, because it's immune to fighting for Hydreigon, immune to ice, immune to fairy. I mean, not immune to ice. Resistant to ice, resistant to fairy. So it really covers his weaknesses as well as Hydreigon covering ghost weakness of Chandelure as well as ground types and water. So they can switch in on each other's weaknesses. It's a good fire type this generation. It's not too fast, but base 80 speed is good enough. It's strong, really strong. It can set up Calm Minds, a substitute. It gets Willow. It's a spin blocker as well, and it also gets Flash Fire, so it can be immune to fire types. So I really like this pick. It was gonna be my fire pick, but it got picked third round, and I was not picking my fire type third round. Anyways. Next, we have Roserade. So this is a really great mon as well. Grass poison typing is really good defensively against other grass types, against water types, against fairy types. So it has great coverage as well. Grass and poison, and then Shadow Ball, and I think Psychic or Psyshock or something like that. And also Mystical Fire, I think. And it completes the Fire, Water, Grass core, so that's good. That's good. Has good synergy with Hydreigon as well, since it resists fairy types and it resists fighting types, and Hydreigon being immune to psychic types and it's resistant to fire types, it can come in on that as well. So with Roserade, Chandelure, Hydreigon, so far all the synergy, I see all this synergy, so it's pretty good. Next we have Hitmonlee, so this is going to be his rapid spinner. Other than that, he has no way of getting rid of hazards. So keep that in mind. Rapid Spin Hitmonlee here. It's a good fighting type Pokemon with it gets because of Fake Out. It can come in and fake out, and it has Mach Punch. So a lot of priority here. It's going to be able to put in damage, and I think if we allow the normal gem, then it can get its Unburden off. And yeah, so it has good coverage as well. You know, high jump kick, knockoff. I think it gets like the punches, Ice Punch, Fire Punch, and all that stuff. And it gets Stone Edge. So Stone Edge, you know, knockoff, and high jump kick. Basically, all it needs. It's good offensive. So next we have Steelix. So this helps with the electric weakness of Gyarados, and it's his stealth rocker. It's a good bulky steel type. Gets access to sturdy. But this is one of the good bulky steel types that can just come in, set up stealth rocks, start just hitting away with earthquake and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, this is like I said, it's a good steel type, but yeah, there's better ones. It's doesn't get reliable recovery, and it's really slow, so it can die pretty early on. But as long as it gets its stealth rocks up, it pretty much does its job. Next, we have Galvantula. So this adds the sticky webs support. So this can help with Hitmonlee, the synergy with Hitmonlee, with Roserade, Chandelure, Gyarados, Hydreigon, like the whole team. Like adding sticky webs to the mix is what perfects this team. It makes everything dangerous now, and it gets Volt Switch, good coverage with Giga Drain, Bug Buzz, Thunderbolt, Discharge. It gets T-Wave too, so that's good. So yeah, so this Galvantula is a perfect pick here for making this team even more dangerous. Next we have Vaporeon. So this is another water type though, so this adds to um, the electric weakness, and with Steelix being the only electric immune, or really that pretty much, I mean, Roserade can come in on electric types. I guess Hydreigon too, but if it has other coverage, it doesn't really have much answers to electric types. So it is water immune though, so it has good synergy with Steelix. Steelix and Vaporeon, it can Wish Pass, so it can pass a Wish to Steelix or Chandelure or Gyarados or Hydreigon or whatever. But the thing about it is that it's really passive. It just comes in and it can't really set up or sweep. It can't. I mean, it can toxic, wish, protect. It's gonna be really passive. And but it doesn't get scald, so that chance of burning makes it a little bit more dangerous. Super bulky, but yeah. Overall, I'm gonna give this one an A minus. The cons about this is that there's no base 100 or more speed here. It's always pretty slow, so it kind of needs that sticky webs, and it has a limited priority with only Hitmonlee having priority here. So it's really slow, and well, not really slow, but pretty slow and limited priority. So gave this one an A minus. Next we have Gabriel here. So Gabriel, this one's a little tougher to have rated. This is a challenging team. Um, First off, we have Dragapult. So first pick is really Greymon. I really like this first pick, Dragapult. It was on my radar, and if this didn't get picked, then I was gonna pick it. But anyways, it's a Greymon. It's really fast. It can be mixed special attack or regular attack. It gets U-turn, great coverage. It gets all the elemental attacks like Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, and Dragon and Draco Meteor. It covers most typings, and it's a good spin blocker as well. So it can come in and spin block. It gets Willow. So this is a really dangerous Pokemon. Expect Scarf or Specs, and just putting in holes in your team. Next we have Bisharp. So Bisharp here is a good Dark type Pokemon. It's a good Steel type as well. It's really offensive. It's dangerous with the setup of Swords Dance and then Sucker Punching everything. Knock off Sucker Punch. With Defiant as well. If it comes in on something with Intimidate, it can just raise its speed and make it dangerous. And it has good coverage as well with Low Kick and Iron Head and Sucker Punch, Knock off. It can put in a lot of work. Next, we have Alcremie. This is a really bulky Pokemon. It's a fairy type. It completes the Fairy Dragon Steel Core that is pretty good. Has really good coverage, actually. I think it gets like Shadow Ball, Psychic, Giga Drain, or like a Grass type. It gets Moonblast. So it has a lot of good coverage here. But I don't think it gets any like recovery options. I think maybe Wish, but I don't think so. I think it gets just Rest. So Alchemy here is it's just going to be a pretty good offensive fairy type. I think it's really bulky too. So next we have Espeon. So the psychic type is always good, and it gets magic bounce, so it's going to be able to come in on things that are going to try to put up stealth rock or sticky webs. And it gets good coverage too. Psychic, Shadow Ball, I think a grass move like Energy Ball or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty fast. Like I think base 110. So with this generation, that's pretty fast this generation. And it also gets wish support. It can set up screens and make things like Bisharp and Dragapult and stuff like that really dangerous. So next we have Weavile. So this one, I wasn't really a fan of this pick because it's another dark type that's like they're really weak to fighting types. Like a Mach Punch on a Bisharp or a Mach Punch on a Weavile is going to put in lots of damage. But Weavile is really offensive. It's really fast, super fast. Um, and it gets Ice Shards, so priority. Um, I mean, he got the two best offensive dark types, I think. Bisharp and Weavile are the most dangerous offensive dark types, but they kind of fill the same role. They're both going to be knocking off and just being that dark type. Um, Next, we have Dhelmise. So, Dhelmise, I really like this pick. It's really bulky. It's a grass ghost Pokemon. Um, but the thing is that it's another ghost type, so it keeps doubling up on these double typing. So it's gonna be another thing weak to dark types, another thing weak to ghost types. Um, but it is a rapid spinner, so that's really good. With rapid spin raising its speed, that can make Dhelmise more of a threat now. It's really strong, so it has good coverage. With the anchor shot, the power whip, and shadow claw, and earthquake, and stuff like that. It makes it pretty dangerous, and it's pretty bulky too, so it can take some hits and just start putting in holes. Next we have Hitmonchan. This is his another spinner that he has, so he has good hazard control. So far, no hazards yet, but he can spin them away, and it's pretty good special defensively, so it can run Assault Vest and take some special attacks. It has priority in Bullet Punch, Mach Punch, and stuff like that. It's great coverage. It has the punches. It's a fighting type, so it helps cover some of the weaknesses he's got. And yeah, so this is the one I starred, and I thought was gonna be his specialty Pokemon, and things definitely gonna be putting in the work. And if I forgot to say what the last team's special Pokemon, the starred one, I starred Hydreigon. Hydreigon definitely going to be a threat. Definitely going to be putting in the work. So keep that one in mind. So anyways, so next we have Torkoal. So Torkoal, I was thinking about getting Torkoal as well. It's a pretty bulky Pokemon. It's a rapid spinner as well. So 3 spinners on this team he's got. But this one actually gets access to Stealth Rock. So this is going to be his rocker. I really expect Torkoal to be coming most weeks. It can with Stealth Rock and a Fire type. It's a good and it has good coverage as well. It can be offensive. I mean, physically or especially with Lava Plume or Earthquake or things like that. Overall, I gave this one a B though. The doubling up on the types, and I didn't really like that. And he has no water type, so with some of the double typings like Weavile and Dhelmise and all that stuff, he could have gotten like a water type. It has limited hazards, just Torkoal to put up hazards, and it has few threats. I guess Weavile can be pretty strong, and Bisharp can set up, but Dragapult is pretty good. But other than that, I mean, everything else is pretty bulky. It has no fairy answer either, so um, no poison type, and his steel type is neutral to fairy, so it has no answers to fairies. Uh, yeah, so I rate that one just a regular B. It's not bad, but it's not great. Next, we have David L. This team is pretty good. I really like it. It's I would say above average team. I really like this team though because it uses a lot of the new Pokemon and has some weird gimmicks here. So first off, we have Dracozolt. This one's was a top pick with the bolt beak attack. It's really super strong, and the ability hustle allows it to put in a lot of damage. It's a good wall breaker, but it's not that fast, so it can be revenged. But it's really bulky, in the 90s on the stats, and it's great offensively and defensively too. So it can come in on certain attacks, and it can also dish out a lot of attacks. So it's really strong too. So yeah, maybe like a scarf on this would make it dangerous, or sticky web support from Araquanid makes this dangerous. So next we have Galarian Stunfisk. So I really like this Pokemon. Steel ground makes it kind of like Excadrill, but it's really bulky, has a lot of HP. It gets access to Stealth Rock. It's a Steel type. It's a good Pokemon too, so it can just come in on things and just set up Stealth Rock and then hit back. But it's really bulky and yeah. So next we have Galarian Weezing. So 2 Galarian Pokemon here. I like Galarian Weezing. This was his 3rd round pick though, so I didn't get a chance to get it. But Poison Fairy typing is really good. So this completes the Fairy Dragon Steel core with Dracozolt, Galarian Stunfisk, and Weezing here. It does get access to Defog, so that's really good. That's what makes this really good. This generation is immune to ground types, so it can come in on ground types and then just defog away. It's a fairy type now, so it can come in on dragon types. And with poison, it's actually an answer to other fairies, so that's good. It's really good defensively. It gets Willow, and yeah. So next we have Araquanid. So this was one of the picks that got sniped for me. I really, really, really wanted Araquanid. It was probably one of my top water types besides Jellicent. It gets access to Sticky Web. It's really bulky with Water Bubble. It makes its water attacks really strong, and it can come in. It can't get burnt, and it can come in on water types. And it's it's resistant to ground too, so it can come in on ground types and just put in work. And yeah, so this one's a good core for like Stunfisk and Dracozolt here. So good, helps with good synergy with the sticky webs to help with like things like Mr. Rhyme and Ninetales and Dracozolt. So next we have Trevenant. This is a good typing, like I had said previously about Delmise, Grass and Ghost. It's a good type. Has great coverage actually. It gets fighting coverage, ghost coverage, grass coverage, and a few others as well. Can't remember at the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it gets a dark type attack as well. And it's pretty decently strong too. So it's a spin blocker, and it can come in on electric types. Yeah. So next we have Ninetales. So this sets up the sun that helps with Trevenant. So Trevenant gets the harvest ability, so it can like rest, or it can citrus berry or resto chesto, and sets up the sun. And it's a good fire type. It's not too fast, but it's pretty fast, so it can put in the work. It gets Nasty Plot, I believe, and it gets good coverage too. So like Shadow Ball, Solar Beam, Flamethrower, stuff like that. Next we have Scrafty. I really like Scrafty. It's one of my favorite Pokemon all time. Great setup Pokemon, as I know from experience. It can just Dragon Dance with 3 coverage moves: Knock Off, Drain Punch, and then I don't know, Ice Punch or Fire Punch or whatever. But yeah, it gets Bulk Up as well. Because it's a Dark type that makes it good to come in on Psychic types or Ghost types. And yeah, Knockoff is always good in this format, but it's pretty slow, so it would need to set up a Dragon Dance to put in the work. But it also helps with Araquanid Sticky Web. It can actually make this a threat too. So Bulk Up, be careful, Bulk Up and Dragon Dance. But yeah, it's a great Pokemon to have here. Next we have Mr. Rhyme. So I really like Mr. Rhyme. Looking at it, I found that it has really high defensive stats, surprisingly. Gets a high HP. I think it's like base 80, and then like base 80 defense, and maybe base 100 special defense or something like that. So it's pretty decently bulky. It's a good offensive typing with Psychic and Ice, and it has good coverage too. So Um, yeah, I really like this team as well. But some of the cons is that it's pretty slow. There's nothing higher than base 100 speed, and it has no priority. But it does have the sticky web support, so that's always good for it. So overall, I gave this an A minus. So I like it, but like I said, I don't really like the slow teams with no priority, and having to rely on sticky webs is a little too much. So yeah. Next we have Chris. So this is a really good team. I really like this team. So fun fact about this team, just like Mason, it's a team with none of the new Galarian Pokemon. So, but overall, I mean, he covers a lot of the typings and a lot of the um, weaknesses he has really well. A lot of good synergy going on. First off, we have Ferrothorn, one of the best defensive steel types in the Draft League. And it can come in on a lot. It can leech seed, set up stealth rock, set up spikes, and great typing and one of the best ones. Yeah. Next we have Mamoswine. Mamoswine is always a threat in Draft League. It's super strong, a huge threat. Great coverage with Stone Edge, Knockoff, Earthquake, Icicle Crash. It gets priority in Ice Shard. It can also set up stealth rocks. It's just a great Pokemon overall, and one of the top picks of the league. Oh, I think I forgot to talk about last team, who I thought was the starred Pokemon, the one that's going to put in the most work, and I picked Galarian Weezing. I feel like Weezing is going to be putting in the work, coming in defensively, defogging away, Will-O-Wisping, and then just attacking and coming in, and I think it's going to be doing really, really well. So anyways, so back to Chris's team. So next we have Jellicent. This is the water type that I wanted. I got sniped. It's water immune, it's fighting immune, and it gets Willow, it gets Recovery, it gets Strength Sap, great coverage with Energy Ball, Ice Beam, Scald, Shadow Ball, just everything you basically want. It's really bulky, good HP, good special defense, and it can be defensive as well. So really great Pokemon overall. So it really helps with Mamoswine synergy. So anything that comes in to try to take out Mamoswine, like a fighting type or a steel type or a water type, Jellicent can just switch in real quick, get off a Willow, recover, and it'll put in work or whatever. Next we have Jolteon. So Jolteon is one of the best electric typings in the Draft League. It's super fast, probably faster than everything in this league. It's one of the fastest Pokemons, and it's pretty strong, electric type. It doesn't have great coverage, just Shadow Ball basically, and Volt Switch, Thunderbolt. It does get Wish, but other than that, it's really predictable. You already know what it's gonna do. It's gonna come in, put in the work, T-Bolt, Volt Switch, Shadow Ball, and that's pretty much it. Next, a pretty good Pokemon here. It can be any typing, so that makes it good, but with the sacrifice of an item. It's pretty decent. This generation, it's not that great though because it doesn't get defog, and but it can pivot with Parting Shot. That makes it really good. A pivot Pokemon can come in. It can be the Fairy type. It could be a Steel type. It could be a Ground type. It could be a Rock type or Grass type or whatever type, and they just come in and and get out, and it has good coverage too, like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, multi attack, and stuff like that. So Silvally kind of fills in the role of like whatever typing he's missing out of the week. He can fill that role there and just pivot out. Next we have Flygon. So Flygon's pretty good with Dragon Dance, but it doesn't get defogged this generation, so it's not as great as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. It gets U-turn, so that's really good. Good momentum. It's immune to ground types, so that's good. You basically can come in on any type of hazard. Stealth Rock, it resists spikes and T-spikes. It's immune, so it can't get that. Sticky webs, it doesn't affect it, so it has great coverage as well. Physically and especially, so it could be mixed. Flamethrower, Earthquake, U-turn, Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Outrage, stuff like that. So next we have Hitmontop. So this is gonna be his spinner. It has great priority, great defensive stats. It has intimidate, so it can come in on physical attackers. Has great special defense, so it doesn't get reliable recovery though, but it's really bulky. It can come in and be assault vested and intimidate, and it gets fake out, it gets mock punch, bullet punch, sucker punch, all types of shit like that. So it's really good pivot Pokemon. You get rid of hazards easily and leftovers, and it's going to be hard to hit. So next we have Zatu. So this one gets U-turn. It also gets Roost, and has a good coverage, magic bounce, so it can come in on sticky webs or stealth rocks, bounce it back. Good coverage. I think it gets Giga Drain. It gets, like I said, U-turn, Psychic. I think it's Shadow Ball as well. Yeah, so it's pretty good, but Zatu is definitely gonna be underrated. Anyways, the starred Pokemon that I think is gonna be putting in the work, it's gotta be definitely Mamoswine here. Mamoswine, always expect that each week to be putting in the work, to be definitely threatening, and with the synergy of Jellicent and Hitmontop, it's definitely gonna be putting in the work. So some of the cons to this team, some of the downfalls, is that it has no true core, no true fairy, water, grass. There's no fire type. There's no fairy type, so it doesn't complete the fairy, dragon, steel. And Flygon is the only thing that can set up here, I believe. So other than that, it's still a great team overall. Though it has great synergy, one of the best synergy I've seen in a team, and definitely put each Pokemon can definitely put in the work. So overall, I gave this one an A. Next, we have the New England Typhlosions, coached by Cade. So this one is it's a little like interesting. It's pretty interesting. A lot of like unorthodox picks here. The first couple picks are really good, but towards the end, like Turtonator and Umbreon, I'm just like, interesting. But anyways, we'll start off with Excadrill. So Excadrill here is it's a really great mon, really good in the format, especially with the Sand of Gigalith. It's really threatening. Sand Rush, Swords Dance. It can hit like Rotom Wash with Mold Breaker. And it's a good steel type, so it can come in on fairies, it can come in on poison types, it can come in on electric types. And it's a good rapid spinner as well. So rapid spin will raise its speed and basically put a scarf on this, so it makes it even more dangerous this generation. So as dangerous as Excadrill was before, this generation, it's even more dangerous. Next, we have, I forgot to say that it can also set up Stealth Rocks with Mold Breaker. Magic Bounce doesn't really affect it. So anyways, next we have Rotom Heat. So Rotom Heat is the next best Rotom besides Rotom Wash. It still resists about the same stuff. Like it resists electric types, it resists steel types, it resists fire types, and it can come in and with heavy duty boots this generation. That item is really a lifesaver for lots of fire types like Rotom Heat and Arcanine and stuff like that. So it gets Willow, and fire coverage is always good. It gets Volt Switch, so it's a good pivot. It's immune to ground and all that stuff. So it's a really good pick here. But anyways, next we have Surfetched. So Surfetched is a pretty good wall breaker here. It's really strong, super strong. It's a good fighting type, has good coverage, and it also gets access to defog. So it's not too fast though. So unless he scarfs it, it can be pretty easily revenged as it doesn't get any priority. But it's a really good wall breaker. It can come in from a Volt Switch and just start wrecking holes. Next we have Milotic. So this one is the next Pokemon, the next water type for me that got sniped. I wanted Jellicent, then I wanted Araquanid, and then I wanted this, and then everything always got sniped for me. So it's a good bulky water type. It comes in, it just walls everything. Basically, it gets recover, so it can just recover off the damage. Flame Orb with the Marvel Scale makes it really bulky defensively. And it has good synergy with Rotom, and it can phase out Pokemon just with Dragon Tail or Haze and stuff like that. So it's really, really, really top grade water type Pokemon this generation. Next we have Gigalith. So Gigalith sets the sand for extra drill, and it can set up the stealth rocks. It's really bulky. Basically, it just comes in, sets up stealth rocks, or just tries to put a little bit of chip damage on the team to help open the door for extra drill to come sweeping in. Next we have Whimsicott. So this completes the Fire, Water, Grass core. It gets Prankster, so the priority can get Prankster, Stun Spore, Prankster Substitute, Prankster Leech Seed, just Prankster stuff like that. It's a good fairy type. It's really fast too. It's pretty unique, but it's not that strong and it's not that bulky. It's just fast and kind of just has like a gimmick. It can do status. It can I think it gets, does it get Healing Wish? No, it doesn't get Healing Wish. It gets Memento, but I guess that can help Extra come in. But other than that, I mean, it gets U-turn, so it can be pivotal. Anyways, next we have Tortonator. So Tortonator is an interesting pick. It's another fire type. It's but I guess he got it to be his spinner, rapid spinner, because other than that, it's just Surfetched with Defog. But Tortonator being a spinner, it gets Shell Smash, so it can put in the work too. It's a dragon type, so I guess that completes that Fairy Dragon Steel core. But it's still weak to ground. So a lot of Pokemon here weak to ground: Excadrill, Gigalith, and Tortonator. Whimsicott is resistant, and Rotom Heat is immune. But other than that, ground types can just kind of hit this. Next we have Umbreon. It's a dark type. I don't really like this Pokemon. In Draft League, it's really passive. It just wishes and toxics and protects, and it's really bulky. I think this generation it still gets Heal Bell, so it's a cleric. But other than that, it's just really passive. It's just gonna come in and it's setup fodder, and yeah. So overall, some of the downsides to this, the cons are that it's pretty fairy weak to fairy. Nothing really resists except Excadrill, and well, I guess Rotom Heat resists too, but it doesn't really have answers to fairies besides Excadrill. It has it's weak to Ghost, except for Umbreon, but Umbreon's is really passive. Other than that, everything can get hit by Ghost types, and it has no priority, and it's pretty slow. Whimsicott is fast, but an Excadrill can get its speed boosted, but other than that, it's kind of slow. It's not too slow as some other teams before, but it doesn't get priority. So, yeah. So overall, I gave this one a B+. Next, we have Jose. This one he has the team, the New York Cosmogs. So, first off, we have Galarian Corsola. So this is a great Pokemon. This was definitely on my radar, on my list of things I wanted to get, and it's a great pivotal Pokemon. I cannot say enough good things about this. It's a Ghost type, so it's a spin blocker. It's immune to fighting types, immune to normal types. It gets kind of pretty much reliable recovery with Strength Sap, and it gets Stealth Rocks. It gets Will-O-Wisp. It has Cursed Body. It can hold the Eviolite with already good defensive stats. So with Shadow, basically just needs Shadow Ball, Will-O-Wisp, Strength Sap, and shit, I don't know. But it's really good. It can switch in on most things, and basically put in work. So next we have Toxtricity. So I really like this pick. It's a good typing. Poison Electric is good. It can hit a lot of things. Normally, grass types would be able to wall electric types, but with Toxtricity's poison typing, it can't. It can really hit the grass types as well. It's his fairy answer to the team, because there's no steel types. So this is the only thing that can basically come in and put in work against fairies. It can be mixed, so it gets like poison jab and wild charge and things like that. It's a good setup. It gets shift gear, so it can raise its speed and attack, and it's also sound based too, so it can be immune to sound type moves, or no, it's not immune. Resistant to sound based moves, and then it boosts its own sound based moves like boom burst, really strong coverage move, and overdrive, and electric is always good in draft. So I really like this one. So, but I mean, it's the only downside to this one is that it's not as fast as I would have hoped. But yeah, next we have Colossal. So I really like this one too. So it's super bulky. Really good, special defensively and defensively. Um, but it does add the quadruple ground weakness that Toxtricity has as well. So double ground weak already, but it does get access to Stealth Rocks and Rapid Spin. So it can come in, Rapid Spin, and then set up its own rocks. It's super bulky, like I said. It's really strong too. And being a fire type is always good. Good coverage. And can come in on fairy types too. So next we have Palpitoad. So this one's an interesting pick. With the desired water ground types that are immune to water. This is an understandable pick, especially with the Eviolite access. It can definitely be really bulky. It can set up stealth rocks, and immune to electric types, immune to water types, like I said, and it's really bulky water type, good coverage, but it's going to be really passive. It's not that strong. It's just going to really, honestly, just come in to wall some Pokemon and then set up Stealth Rocks. Next, we have Vileplume. I forgot to... earlier, I forgot that he had Vileplume, so I guess this is also a fairy answer. It has the double poison, though, so it's weak to Psychic. And but with it being grass type, it's not that weak to ground, but it's not resistant to ground either. So it has good coverage. Vileplume is surprisingly has good coverage, and it gets recovery too. I think Synthesis, maybe Strength Sap, but Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain is really good. But I mean, other than that, it's a pretty interesting pick for being the 5th round. Next we have Gardevoir. So this is his fairy type. It's offensive. It's one of his few offensive Pokemon, and but it's actually kind of slow. Only base 80 speed, so it probably will run Scarf some of the time. It gets Trace though, so it can come in on Volt Absorb abilities or Levitate or things like that. It has really good coverage. Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Moonblast, Focus Blast, stuff like that. So yeah, next we have Noivern. So I'm not sure if it gets defogged this generation. I don't think it does. Maybe, but it doesn't get Roost, I believe, anymore. So it's really fast though, so that's good, especially for this team since it's really slow. It gets U-turn. It can scout with Frisk, but it's not that strong. I mean, it's decent, but definitely not going to be Oko-ing many things unless something's like 4 times weak to fire, or I mean, four times weak to like flying type, or maybe even then like a flamethrower I think doesn't even kill Ferrothorn. Anyway, but it has good coverage. Next we have um, Grapplock. So this one's a weird Pokemon. It doesn't have too much coverage, just mostly fighting moves. It's really slow too, but it has an interesting move called Octolock, which traps the Pokemon and lowers its defense, special defense. So if it can get that off, it's basically just gonna weaken you down. And but it's not too bulky. It's not that fast, and it's pretty niche Pokemon here. So I forgot to say what the special Pokemon, the starred Pokemon for the last team was, and it was Surfetched. So Surfetched, I think he's gonna be putting in the work here. It's really strong and can just come in and blow holes. So this team, the starred Pokemon that I think is gonna be putting in the work is Noivern. So Noivern's gonna be coming in, U-turning, doing some hurricanes, doing some uh, Draco Meteors and flamethrowers and stuff like that. So overall, the some of the downfalls and the cons is that it's weak to ground. Just Noivern can come in on ground types, but even then, it has some double typings like um, the double poison, and I think that's it. But anyways, it's not that fast either. Just Noivern, Gardevoir, and Toxicity, kinda, but not good enough. Has no setup really besides Toxicity. I guess Gardevoir can Calm Mind, but it's not Mega Gardevoir, so it's not really gonna set up. It's bulky, but it doesn't really have. Not many things have reliable recovery. Just Corsola, but like Colossal doesn't have reliable recovery. Palpito doesn't have reliable recovery, and stuff like that. So, and it has no priority either. So overall, I gave this one a B minus. So one of the weaker teams, I think. Next, we have Martin. Martin, the league, the guy who runs the league admin, the one who's making this all possible, Martin. So Pacific Prima Arenas. This team is really good. I looked at it and it seemed very threatening. First off, Dracovish, probably the best Pokemon in Draft League. Well, maybe not the best, but one of the best for sure because with its ability Strong Jaw and its super strong attack Vicious Rend, it's going to be 2-hit KOing most things, so expect Scarf on this thing um, most weeks. But it's pretty one-dimensional. It's pretty much just going to do Vicious Rend, Crunch, um, and that's it. I mean, it's pretty bulky and the good typing, good defensive typing with water and dragons, so that makes it neutral to ice and neutral to like grass and electric. So it's only weak to fairies, and yeah. So, but it's definitely gonna be putting some holes in. So make sure you have a water type or a drag or like a shit. Usually just a water type can really just all these things. Maybe a grass type, but anyways, next we have Caparaja. Caparaja, I really like this Pokemon. It's really bulky. It's a steel type, so it's gonna be his fairy answer. I can set up stealth rocks and it has good coverage. Other than that, I really don't really have much else to say about it. Just good. It's a really good bulky steel type, and sets up rocks and puts in the work. Next we have Vikavolt. So this is what makes his team really dangerous because he gets access to sticky webs. So Dracovish is going to be putting in the work if there's some sticky webs on the field. Vikavolt is a good Pokemon in and of itself because of the special attack stat. It's really high. It's also immune to ground types, so it can come in on ground types where Caparaja is weak to. Come in and Bug Buzz, and I think it gets Energy Ball, so it can cover ground types. Volt switch on out of there, and it has setup in agility, so it can be like weakness policy, agility, and sweep. And yeah, it's pretty dangerous. Next we have Salazzle. So this is a good Pokemon. I was thinking of maybe getting Salazzle on my team, um, but uh, but I got sniped. But this is a good fairy answer for him. It can switch in on fairy types and 4-time resistant, and it's really fast, and it can start revenging really easily with the poison typing, poison attacks. But it doesn't really have too good coverage. It's just poison and fire. It gets access to Nasty Plot though, so it can be dangerous, and it can be immune to fire, and yeah, so it's pretty good fast revenge killer. Next we have Runerigus. So this is one of the new Pokemon. Runerigus is basically a ground type Cofagrigus. It's ghost ground, so it's pretty good. It's like kind of like Golurk, immune to fighting types, immune to normal types, immune to electric types. So this is a good typing defensively. It doesn't have reliable recovery though, so that's one of its downfalls. But yeah, I think it gets stealth rocks, so that's good. Maybe because I would think so since it's a ground type. Um, and it's really really bulky. The what made Cofagrigus pretty good is how bulky it was, and uh, and the ability is basically the same. Like it's kind of like Mummy, to where like it disables their ability or whatever. But yeah, so it's a spin blocker too, so that's good. That's good. Next we have Serena. This one's a good rapid spinner in this league. A good grass type this league. It gets U-turn, has great coverage like high jump kick, trope kick. Like I said, U-turn, um, and stuff like that. It's pretty strong too. I think like base 120 attack, so that's pretty decent. It's slow, but with rapid spin, it raises its speed. It makes it a threat. Next we have Hatterene. This thing is pretty strong, but its downfall is that it's super slow. So it's gonna be revenged easily on the physical end. But if we can get like maybe I don't know if we can get like trick room off, or if it can put in work under sticky webs, it's really strong. It completes the fairy dragon steel core. It's a psychic type, so psychics are always good offensively. Has great coverage and good special defense bulk. And next we have Pangoro. So Pangoro is a good fighting dark type, has great coverage, steel coverage, I think poison coverage, ice punch, fire punch, knockoff, drain punch, close combat, and stuff like that. I think he gets earthquake too. It gets mold breaker, scrappy, iron fist. It can be scarfed. It can use parting shot. So I really like Pangoro. Um, on this team, and yeah. So overall, the some of the downfalls and the cons of this team is that it's pretty slow. Just Salazzle has speed. Everything else is under base 100, and uh, it's not really gonna outspeed much. But Sticky Webs does help that. It's not really that diverse in the roles either. It's really predictable. You already kind of know what each Pokemon's gonna do if you see it. So Dracovish is just gonna attack. Caparaja is bulky. Rocker, Vikavolt, the moves it's gonna have. Salazzle, everything. Every Pokemon here, you kind of pretty much know what it's gonna do. It doesn't really have multiple roles, and it doesn't have any priority either. So those are some of the um, criticisms. But overall, even despite all that, I still give it an A minus. Next, we have this trash ass team. Look at this fucking trash ass team. This, this team is fucking sucks. Uh, nah, I'm just kidding, but for real, it just kind of sucks. but the first Pokemon is really good. Cinderace is really good. One of the best fire types. I think it might be the best fire type in Draft League right now. It's super super fast, really really strong. Great coverage. It gets Sucker Punch. It gets U-turn. It gets Court Change. Um, and with heavy duty boots, it can come in. But yeah, but the thing is that it's only fire type. It's not a dual typing. So yeah. Um, Next we have Toxapex. So Toxapex, this one, um, it's really good defensively, but it's super passive as fuck. It's really bulky, but it gets regenerator and recover, but it's just gonna recover in your face. I mean, it's just gonna recover, switch out, come in, recover, switch out, basically. Set up T spikes maybe, but good defensive typing. It can come in on water types, come in on fighting types, and come in on fairy types. But it's really weak and it's setup fodder. So if you got substitute or like swords dance or something, you can come in, set up, and just start murking. Next we have well, it's not really Berserker because some of these teams have changed. It's not updated, but he traded out Berserker for Chinchino. So Chinchino is kind of a fast Pokemon, pretty fast, like base 115, it's pretty fast, but it's not that strong. I think it's like only like base 100 or base 90, but it has good coverage. It gets bullet seed, rock blast, tail whip, knock off, U-turn, and but it's not bulky. It's really weak honestly, and it's predictable. You already know what's gonna do, um, and it's not that good. Next, he traded out Appleton as well for Drapion. So Drapion, that's a good typing, but it does double up on the ground typing, so it makes him really weak to ground. You know, with Cinderace, Toxapex, and now Drapion, um, all weak to ground types. So that makes it really, really bad, really bad. Um, but it is a good typing. Ground is the only weakness it has. It has access to a knockoff, so that's always good. Um, and T spikes too, but it's pretty mid, pretty not too bulky, and it's not too strong. It's just kind of like there. Next we have Lucario. So Lucario is gonna be pretty good on this team. This is the I keep forgetting to talk about the starred Pokemon, but this is the starred Pokemon on this team. The last team is Caparaja. I think Caparaja is gonna be putting in the work, coming in, attacking, tanking hits, putting up stealth rocks, and yeah. But this one, I think Lucario is gonna be putting in the work. It could be mixed, special attack or physical. It has great coverage. You know, it gets the ice punch, it gets earthquake, it gets um, psychic, ice. Flash cannon, dark pulse, close combat, iron head, um, bullet punch, vacuum wave. But the only downfall is that it's not that fast. I think it's base 90. So I mean, it's decently fast, but it's not fast enough. And it's another weak to ground. So far, 4 Pokemon are weak to ground types. So that's not good. Um, and it's not that fast. But it does get priority, so that's good. Next, he traded out Guja for Sylveon, and so he got Sylveon instead of Guja, and Sylveon is really bulky, but I don't know. I think Sylveon's might be a little too passive here. It does have a pretty good special attack stat. It can Moonblast and Hyper Voice things away, but it doesn't really have good coverage. Just Moonblast, Hyper Voice, whatever, and then maybe Shadow Ball. Maybe, does it get Mystical Fire? I don't know, because with Hidden Power attacks gone, it can't really hit everything. It's slow though too. It's really passive. Wish, Protect, Calm Mind, I guess, but it's really predictable. So yeah, next we have Braviary. So fucking Braviary got sniped from my ass. So this is this Pokemon is ass as hell. It's always it's always gonna be coming because he's so weak to ground. It's the only thing that is an answer to his ground types. Come in, it's immune. It gets U-turn, but it's pretty slow, base 80, and it gets no roost. So you can't. I mean, you can't really come in for. Oh wait, I skipped Slurpuff, but let me still talk about Braviary. So, it gets no roost. So with Stealth Rocks, I don't think he has a way of getting rid of hazards either. There's no defog, no rapid spin. Um, I'm trying to think. No, I don't think so. Yeah, so it's probably gonna need to run heavy duty boots. It's to come in. It's gonna take damage, and no roost makes it have a ticking timer on it. And it's predictable now with no roost, and it's kind of bulky, but you can't really run the bulk up roost substitute set anymore. But yeah, overall, some of the cons and downfalls it has is that it's really weak to ground, and Braviary really being the only answer, and it has little hazard control. Oh yeah, let me talk about Slurpuff. So he actually traded out Slurpuff for Meowstic. So let's talk about Meowstic. Meowstic is actually a pretty subpar psychic type Pokemon. It has no recovery. It's not really strong. It's not really bulky. It does get access to screens, so I guess maybe that's the main reason. It gets Prankster, so it can Prankster T-Wave and Prankster screens. But it's kind of weak. It's not bulky. It gets Fake Out, but honestly, this Pokemon is pretty trash. Meowstic. So, anyways, overall, has little hazard control and no rocks. Has no way to set up hazards, just T spikes. Has no electric resistance either. So Toxapex is fucked. Um, Barriari is fucked, and it's a really predictable team, honestly. So I gave this one a C plus. So it's just decent. Anyways, so next we have Ken, captain coach of the Swamping Mega Swamperts. So first off, we got Halucha here. Halucha being uh, the main cheese on this team. Has good synergy with Pinchurchin. Oh, well, let me talk about the fact that he traded out Ndidi for Pinchurchin. So let's just have that settled. So instead of Ndidi, it's Pinchurchin. So Pinchurchin, or Pincurchin, whatever, gets electric terrain. So basically the new Coco for Halucha. So Halucha can get that unburden boost, and it gets set up with Swords Dance, so that's good. But the thing is that it's pretty predictable. It's just you know what it's gonna do, so you can counter it. Has good coverage though, so that's good. And also gets limber if he ever wants to think outside the box. Um, but other than that, it's predictable, but it's going to be a dangerous sweeper if used right. Next, we have Clefable. This is one of the great fairy types in this draft league. It has little coverage though, just like Shadow Ball and Moonblast. It's really bulky though, and it gets recovery in Morning Sun, I believe. So that's good. And it also gets Stealth Rocks. So really good, really good. And so yeah, instead of Indeedee, it's Pincurchin. So let's talk about that. So it's electric type, but looking at its stats, it doesn't really have anything over 100, base 100. I think just attack like 101. Everything else is like 80s, and its HP is pretty low. So it's not really going to be bulky, and it's not really that strong. If it doesn't set up electric terrain with its ability, it has Volt Absorb, so it can come in on electric at times. It's really, really, really slow, but it does get spikes, so it could be mixed. But it's gonna be hard to tell what this Pincurchin thing is gonna do. Next, we have Lantern. The double electric is interesting here, but it is water immune and electric immune. So with the electric terrain being up, having Lantern is going to be key with the Volt Absorb. It's really bulky, especially on the special defensive side, and has good coverage too. Giga Drain, Ice Beam, Scald, Volt Switch, Shadow Ball. Um, yeah, but it's slow. So that actually helps it a little bit with being a good slow Volt Switcher. And it gets Scald too, so Scald's always good. Next we have Hippowdon. So Hippowdon's a good, bulky, defensive ground type. If you're going to try to go for a bulky defensive ground type, Hippo is your answer. But the thing is that the sand is going to hurt the team. It's going to hurt Halucha. It's going to hurt Haxorus and the Morning Sun of Clefable. And yeah, but it's really, really bulky. So it's going to tank hits. And it can also set up Stealth Rocks. But it makes it immune to electric. So having electric terrain, he's really covering his electric weaknesses. Next, we have Haxorus. So Haxorus, this one's the starred Pokemon. This is the Playmaker. I think he's going to be putting in the work. It's super, super, super strong. It gets Dragon Dance set up, but it's not too fast. But Dragon Dance is going to make it, faster, obviously. It gets Mold Breaker, so it's going to EQ those Levitate Pokemon. And yeah, so I honestly expect this one to be putting in the most work and being super threatening. Next, we have Snorlax. The thing is fat. It has good coverage. Basically has attacks for each typing. Heavy Slam, Seed Bomb, Ice Punch, Knockoff, Earthquake, Hammer Arm. You can get Facade. You can get Body Slam. All that stuff. It has setup with Curse. But one thing that Ken is gonna have to keep in mind is that it can't rest. It can't sleep if electric terrain is up, because electric terrain doesn't let it sleep. So be careful of the rest, sleep talk, curse thing. But it's really bulky, so that's good. Next we have Roselia. I really like the Roselia pick. I've picked Roselia in the past, and I've always praised Roselia. It's with access to a Violet, it makes it really, really bulky, and it's already pretty strong. Base 100 special attack, so it can surprisingly put in some work. And 2-hit KO, some things that are it's super effective against. So it has good coverage, Shadow Ball, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb. I think it gets Mystical Fire, whatever. Just kind of like Roserade. And it gets recovery with synthesis. It gets spikes. But actually, the recovery and synthesis is going to be hindered by the sand, so that's kind of bad. But it does get spikes and T-spikes, and it's bulky and it's kind of strong. So I really like the Roselia pick. But overall, some of the cons and downfalls is that it has no ground resistance. Roselia being neutral, Lantern being weak to ground, and Pincurchin being weak to ground. Haluchu can come in, but it doesn't really want to have to come in on ground types. And it's kind of slow. Besides Halucha, I guess Haxorus is kind of fast, but it's not fast enough. And there's no sticky web support or anything like that. So, and it's not that strong. I mean, just Haxorus and Halucha, but everything else is gonna be like just mediocre. And one of the major downfalls of this team is that there's no hazard removal, no defog, no rapid spin. So overall, I gave this one a B. Next, we have your boy, me, Scott, here with the captain of the Thriller Bark Trevenants. So this team, I'm gonna try to be objective here and not be biased, but Galarian Darmanitan, that's probably the best Pokemon in Draft Team. This thing is a monster. It's broken. It's probably will eventually be banned from OU or something like that. It's really centralizing with its ability Gorilla Tactics. It basically puts a choice band on it at all times, and it's always choice locked. So might as well put a choice scarf on that thing. You know what I mean? But what also makes this great is that it also has access to Zen mode. So I can run a belly drum set with Zen mode, and then it can switch. And then the base speed of this Zen mode, I think, is like 135, so it's even faster than a Jolteon. So you're gonna need priority to kill this thing if I go Zen mode on this. But it's really fast in Zen mode. But it's broken. It's super strong. Good coverage with Icicle Crash and Flare Blitz, and I think it still gets Wild Charge. But yeah. Yeah, you can basically just U-turn every turn with this thing scarfed and wait till everything's weak enough for one-hit KOs. Next, I have Mew. So, Mew is a great psychic type. In Draft League, you never know what Mew's gonna do because it has access to every move that it can get. So it can be good setup. It can be Nasty Plot. It can be Dragon Dance. It can be Bulk Up. It has good recovery too. I think it just gets Morning Sun maybe, because I don't think it gets access to Roost anymore. Has great coverage. Like I said, it can be mixed. It can set up Stealth Rocks. One downfall though is that it doesn't get access to Defog, so that's a shame. But anyways. Next, I have Duraludon. So Duraludon also helps with Stealth Rocks. It's a good Steel-type Pokemon, but with Steel and Dragon, it doesn't really help with the Fairy types because it's neutral to Fairy types, and with that special defense stat, it's going to be probably 2-hit KO'd by most. But it's really bulky in the defensive side, and it's super strong, and it's pretty fast. Like, it's surprisingly fast at base 85 speed, I think. So it can be putting in the work and put dents in teams. Next, we have Morpeko. So I really like this pick. I was going to pick Bolton, but after looking at Morpeko, I really like it. With the access to its signature move, Aura Wheel, its speed will always be raised, and the typing always changes based on its ability. So one turn it'll be a dark type move, one turn it'll be electric, and it's a really strong move, base 110. So it also gets access to rapid spin, so that's a good to know. I'll be able to come in and rapid spin things away. It's a good electric type. It gets priority and fake out, quick attack, I think, maybe sucker punch. I don't know, but it also has good coverage with like Seed Bomb. I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit more, but it definitely has good coverage, and it's kind of unpredictable because you kind of don't really know what it'll do. But yeah, so next I have Inteleon. So I was trying to go for that bulky water type like I was talking about before, but they all got sniped. Araquanid, Jellicent, Milotic, and all that shit. So I ended up going with the offensive water type here. It's really fast, base 120 speed, so it's going to outspeed most things, and it's really strong with base 125 special attack. So that's really good. It gets priority in Sucker Punch and Fake Out, I think. Aqua Jet, Ice Shard. It can be mixed. It has pretty good, decent attack stat. It has great coverage, great coverage, and it can also set up screens, surprisingly. It gets U-turns, so it can help with momentum with Darmanitan and Morpeko. It also sets up with Calm Mind, I think, or Swords Dance. It gets haze too, so it can haze things away. A fast hazer. Yeah, so next I have Shiinotic. Shiinotic is really good grass fairy type. It's bulky on the special defensive side especially, and it gets strength sap, so it can come in on physical attackers as well. It also gets resistant to to ground, and it's a fairy type, so it can come in and hit the fairy types. It gets Leech Seed as well, good reliable recovery, and it has pretty good synergy with Duraludon. So all the weaknesses that Duraludon has, like ground and fighting, Shiinotic can come in, and same with Shiinotic. Like it's weak to poison, it's weak to steel, and Duraludon can come in on those. But the only downfall is that Shiinotic is pretty slow. Next, I have Toxicroak. So Toxicroak, this was a really tough decision to make after a lot of things were sniped. I decided to go with Toxicroak here. Toxicroak is kind of slow too, base like 85 speed I think, but it does get priority moves and Fake Out and Sucker Punch, and it has good coverage. It can be mixed. It can go Nasty Plot, Special Attacker, or even Swords Dance, Physical. It's really offensive too, and has good abilities too with Dry Skin and Poison Touch too. So next and final, I have Butterfree. So after Braviary got sniped from me, I decided to go with Butterfree. I was thinking, fuck it, I was looking for something that had U-turn and was a flying type, because I didn't want to be too much weak to ground types with Duraludon, Morpeko, and Toxicroak. So Butterfree coming in on ground types helps that. He gets access to Quiver Dance. It's basically a poor man's Vivillon. It gets, like I said, U-turn. It has good coverage. I think it gets Giga Drain, Shadow Ball, and stuff like that. And with Compound Eyes, it can help with Sleep Powder. It can put someone to sleep and then start setting up. So it's a pretty dangerous sweeper. And with Hurricane, it'll hit hurricanes and stuff like that. So it's pretty good, but the base stats are pretty low. But this is the starred Pokemon I think is going to be putting in the work. And so be careful of that Butterfree. Overall, the downfalls and the cons is that it's kind of slow. Inteleon is kind of fast. Mew is fast. Darmanitan can be scarfed, but other than that, it's kind of slow. And it has few fairy options. So both Toxicroak and Duraludon are neutral to fairies. And nothing can really come in on fairy types. But with Duraludon and Toxicroak both being offensive, they can revenge some fairies. So yeah, overall gave it an A-. And last but not least, we have Adam, coach of the Walsall Sensations. First off, we have Grimmsnarl. I really like this Pokemon. Grimmsnarl is really bulky, great typing, and Dark and Fairy, first of its kind. So it's really can come in on dark type attacks and put in the work. And with Prankster, it can bulk up, and T-Wave, and just things like that. It has really great coverage as well, but it's kind of slow, so be careful of that. But it gets priority in Sucker Punch, so that's good. It's really strong and really bulky, so great first pick, great typing, great defensively. And yeah, so next we have Seismitoad. So Seismitoad is basically the Pokemon that everyone was trying to get, with Gastrodon, Palpitoad, and Quagsire and stuff like that. Seismitoad is really good. It's one of those OU Pokemons this generation. So Honestly, I don't think it was worth an OU pick. But it does get access to Stealth Rocks, but no reliable recovery. It is water immune. It has great coverage. Now with a Power Whip, it's immune to electric as well. And it's also really bulky too. So that's good. Next we have Komo-o. Komo-o is a good Pokemon. Really bulky, over base 100s in the bulk defense and special defense, and it gets set up in Dragon Dance. I think bulk up too. It can autotomize or rock polish or whatever. And it's a dragon type, so it resists a lot of things. It gets good coverage. It gets drain punch to get. It can be mixed, so it makes it unpredictable. And it gets stealth rocks too. So Komo-o is going to be a very unpredictable mon. And yeah, so next we have Frostmoth. So I really like Frostmoth. I was researching it, and it's really strong. Base 125 special attack, has great coverage, great offensive typing too. Ice and Bug. It gets Quiver Dance, so that's going to make it even more dangerous. It gets Defog too, and its ability boosts its special defense. So it's going to be bulky on the special defense side and Quiver Dance up, and and it gets, I think, Giga Drain too. So it also gets Screens, U-Turn, and it's really strong. But it's really weak to rock, so it's going to most likely have to have heavy-duty boots if it's going to be trying to come in when there's Stealth Rocks up. Next, we have Heliolisk. I really like Heliolisk. I've had it before in the past. It's great coverage. It gets things like Surf. It doesn't get Grass Knot anymore, but it gets Hyper Voice, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, whatever, Dark Pulse, and stuff like that. And with the added normal type, it makes it immune to Ghost types, so that's good. It gets good momentum for the team. It has great abilities, Dry Skin, but it can't really take advantage of the other abilities because of the weathers. But it gets Dry Skin, Solar Power, and Sand Veil. But most likely just gonna be running Dry Skin for that water immune. And so that makes 2 water immune Pokemon with Seismitoad and Heliolisk. So yeah, but it's not that great. Special attack or speed it's a little bit over base 100, but it's not too strong and not too fast. Next we have Blade. Blade's a great defensive steel type Pokemon with access to a Violet, so it's gonna be super bulky, but no reliable recovery, so it's not gonna be able to take hits too long. It's a spin blocker though, so that's good. It gets priority in Shadow Sneak, and it's really bulky, like I said, not on the special defense side, but that's alright. It's a steel type, so it completes the Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and has great synergy with the team. So next we have Reuniclus. Reuniclus is very interesting. Honestly, I think it might be a little bit better this generation because of it's still the same thing as it had last generation, but with less answers. It has really good bulk. It can recover. It has Regenerator, Magic Guard. They can set up Calm Minds. It's really strong, good coverage, and yeah. So last but not least, we have Galarian Mr. Mime. So another Eviolite Pokemon that he can have. He doesn't have to have Eviolite since Mr. Mime has good base stats already. It's faster than Mr. Rhyme. I think it's base 100 speed. It has good special defense and good offensive typing, Psychic and Ice types, so that's good. And I think it gets Rapid Spin as well, so that's good to know. It's offensive, and it also gets access to screens, Light Screen and Reflect. So some of the cons and the downfalls is that it doesn't have great hazard removal. Just Mr. Mime, I think, and Frostmoth has Defog, and has no flying or ground immune, so something can just hit, just spam Earthquake or spam, spam Earthquake, because he has no flying types, so that's not good. And the team is pretty slow too. Just Heliolisk is pretty fast, and that's it. And Mr. Mime, I guess, but yeah. So overall, I did give it an A though. I really like the team, and yeah. So that's it with my team analysis, guys. I'm gonna switch to the rankings now, and overall, this is how I ranked the teams. So David H, I had him as the number one team. I really liked his team. Rotom Wash, Poltegeist, Arcanine, Mandibuzz, Rillaboom, Ribombee, Rhyperior, Gallade. Everything is good. With Sticky Web support, it's great. Everything is bulky and has good coverage, unpredictable. Yeah. So next, number two, I had Adam. The Grimmsnarl team, I really liked that team. Frostmoth is dangerous. Frostmoth was the starred Pokemon that I forgot to talk about, but that thing is going to be putting in the work. Be careful of Quiver Dance. It's going to be sweeping and has good coverage as well. Next, I have, shouldn't be Chris. It's just Chris. Um, Chris of the Max Meowsticks. I really liked his team as well. His team was the had no Galarian Pokemon. It was Ferrothorn, Mamoswine, Jellicent, Jolteon, Silvally, Flygon, Hitmontop, Xatu. Mamoswine is a huge threat. Ferrothorn's a great mon. Jellicent is perfect synergy with his team. Um, uh, Jolteon is really fast, good electric type. Silvally helps fill the holes. Flygon's a good one. Hitmontop's a good one. These are all Pokemon that are all great in and of themselves. So I give that number 3. Next, I have Martin. Martin's team is pretty good too. Uh, he has the Dracovish team and Sticky Web support with Vikavolt and Caparaja, Salazzle, Runerigus, Serena, Hatterene, Pangoro. All of these are threats, guys. All of these, even Serena, even Runerigus. Every Pokemon on this team is a threat. The only downfall, like I said before, was that it's kind of slow and it's not really that diverse, so it's kind of predictable. But it's gonna be putting in the work. Next, I had Mason at number 5. Mason's team is really good too. He has the Hydreigon team. Again, just like Chris, he has no new Galarian Pokemon, but Hydreigon is a threat, Gyarados is a threat, Chandelure is a threat, Roserade is a threat, Hitmonlee, Steelix, and with Sticky Webs from Galvantula, you already know shit's about to go down. Vaporeon is always also there too, but it's a little passive. I bumped this one a little down because it has limited priority and not many of his Pokemon are really that fast, so he kind of has to rely on Sticky Webs. Um, and it has no really defensive cores besides Steelix, Vaporeon. So yeah. The next on the list was me, just your boy. I got number 6. I did mark myself down because I have few fairy options. And it's kind of slow too. So Inteleon is really the only fast one, and Mew. So it could use some speed. Morpeko is kind of up there, and Duraludon is surprisingly fast, but still it could be faster. And like I said, the few fairy options. I have Toxicroak and Duraludon, but each are neutral to fairies. So yeah. So next on the list, I have David L. Gonna be taking them L's this season. But no, for real though, it's a pretty decent team. I rated it an A-, and he got the Dracozolt, Galarian Stunfisk, Galarian Weezing. I really like this team. Araquanid with Sticky Webs, Trevenant. But once you go to like Trevenant, Ninetales, Scrafty, Mr. Rhyme, that's when it's kind of like, there could be better picks there. But overall, I still think it's really good with Sticky Web support. Ninetales can put in the work. Scrafty and Mr. Rhyme can put in the work. And it has no priority though, so like I said, it's gonna need that Sticky Webs from Araquanid but Galarian Weezing can come in. It's gonna take hits. Stunfisk is gonna take hits, but there's no reliable recovery. Nothing gets reliable recovery, so be careful of that. Next, I got Nier. Nier, I ranked him right in the middle. Well, actually, David L was right in the middle, but Nier is right at the bottom half. He's the start of the B plus teams. His team was kind of slow. It was the Corviknight, Gastrodon, Gengar, Rotom-Mow, Conkeldurr, Aromatisse, Obstagoon, Piloswine. It's a pretty slow team, really passive with Corviknight, Gastrodon, Rotom-Mow. Rotom-Mow, I guess, can get momentum, but everything is really slow and it has limited hazard removal. I think it's just defog on Corviknight. And and it doesn't really have much momentum besides Rotom-Mow. So a lot of switching, a lot of passive play, and expect long battles with Nier. Next, I got Carlos. Also rating him B plus. Um, a lot of the issues with these teams is that they're just not that fast and not that doesn't have much priority. So, um, and is not too strong. His team is not too strong either. So he's got Tyranitar, Togekiss, Quagsire, Scorch, Bronzong, Boltund, the Eldegoss, and Ice Cube. So Tyranitar is good. Togekiss is actually subpar in my opinion, with no Roost and no Defog, and Morning Sun with the Sand actually makes it worse for this team specifically. Quagsire is good, but again, it's really passive, really slow, not going to be putting in a lot of work. And Scorch is a mid fire type. It's not too strong, not too fast either, and it's not bulky enough to be that slow. Um, Bronzong is not going to be attacking hard, and I mean it's good defensively, but again, it's not a strong team. Boltund is kind of strong with Strong Jaw, but still at base 90, it's not going to be putting in the work. Eldegoss as well. Eldegoss is kind of good, but again, no good coverage. It's just gonna be grass moves. It gets rapid spin and it's kind of bulky, but yeah. And Ice Cube is gonna be sweeping. But again, it's because it's slow, and you can hit it on the special side. So again, B plus number 9. Next, I had Cade at number 10. Cade's team was kind of interesting. It was the Excadrill Sand team, but the thing about this team is I feel like it relies too much on Excadrill. It's weak to Fairy. Not much it can deal with fairies, except Excadrill has limited rocks besides like Gigalith. Excadrill is not going to want to have to set up stealth rocks, but yeah, it's also weak to Ghost, no priority, and it's kind of slow too. So the only fast one is I think Whimsicott. Everything else is like around base 85 speed if it's going to be threatening. So yeah, it was a little weird team. Rotom Heat, Surfetch'd, Milotic, Gigalith, Whimsicott, Turtonator, Umbreon. Just too passive, too slow, not good enough in my opinion. Next on the list we had Ken. So Ken is it's a decent team. I rated it B, right in the middle, but again, because it's weak to ground, it has no resistances either. I marked it down there. It's really slow too, besides Hawlucha and maybe Haxorus. Haxorus and Hawlucha and Clefable really raise this team and make it not suck that much. But besides that, it's really passive and it's not going to be putting in too much work. You just kind of have to, it's really predictable in knowing that basically he's going to have to win with Haxorus or Hawlucha. Yeah, and has no hazard removal. That's another downfall of that team. No hazard removal. Number 12, I got Gabriel. Gabriel's team was alright, but no fairy answer. Has a lot of double typings with Bisharp and Weevil, and then Dhelmise and Dragapult. And Bisharp's the only thing that's going to have to handle the fairies. But with it being only base 70 speed, I think. So, I guess that's fast enough for some of the bulky fairies. But for like the fast, strong fairies, he has no real answers. And he has no water type, no bulky water type. So I don't know what his answer is for my Galarian Darmanitan. I guess besides Torkoal, but Torkoal has no reliable recovery. A lot of double typings. Limited hazards is just Torkoal. And few threats, honestly. Weavile, I guess. Bisharp, Dragapult. But yeah. That's why I rated Gabriel number 12. I got Jose at 13. Even though he had Galarian Corsola and Toxicity, everything else just seemed not going to be putting in that work. Like Colossal, I feel like that's going to be really passive. Palpitoad is not good enough. It's really weak. It's just going to be bulky, but you can knock that off. Vileplume is not going to be putting in the work. Gardevoir is just really one-dimensional, like either Scarfed or I don't know, Life Orb, but it's not fast enough to be a good sweeper. Noivern, I guess, is good, but it's kind of on the weak side. And Grapplock, I don't even know what he's going to be doing with Grapplock. Overall, I gave this one a B minus. And yeah, so last but not least, this trash ass team, Darius. So he sniped my Braviary, so I'm just gonna shit on this team. Not, but for real though. being objectively, this is a pretty bad team because it's so weak to ground and has no resistances, no immunities to ground, little hazard control. I think has no way of getting rid of hazards. No stealth rocks. It's just T spikes. No electric resistant, and it's pretty predictable. Everything's pretty mid, except for Cinderace. Cinderace is the only good Pokemon really on this team. Um, Toxapeck is a good bulky Pokemon, but it's not going to be winning games. I don't think. I mean, especially when you know his whole team is weak to ground. It's really passive. Chinchino, I guess it's fast enough to put in dents and with skill link. But yeah, Meowstic is pretty mid. Drapion too. Drapion's alright, but Lucario might put in work, but again, too slow. And yeah, Sylveon, Braviary, yeah. So I gave this one a C plus. So there you guys have it. The BRL rankings 1 through 14. Hope you guys liked the video. If you guys liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you guys have any disputes, anything you think should be changed, your own opinion, you guys can leave your own rankings in the comments. I'd like to see your rankings and your reasonings. Keep in mind that all these teams were pretty hard to rank. Some were obviously clearly better than others, but overall, like I said, the lowest grade I gave was a C plus. So they're all pretty good teams, even the Darius's trash ass team. But yeah. So let me know what you guys think in the comments and give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel and expect some Pokemon battles in the future as well as my One Piece reviews. So catch y'all later and peace out.